My topic today relates to the Ramayana in early Chalukyan Deccan with a special focus on Ravana. And I'll also, like Valerie, prefer to read my paper to be able to stick to the time frame, hopefully. So from the mid-6th to the mid-8th centuries, the early Western Chalukyas held sway in the Deccan. Sculptures and epigraphs from the region reveal that the epics and Puranas were an integral part of Chalukyan cultural ethos. The earliest visual narratives of the Ramayana from southern India also belong here. My focus today is on Ravan to understand his characterization in Chalukyan sculpture and his perception in the aesthetic, religious, and political imagination of early Chalukyan Deccan. While Ram is almost always upheld as an ideal king with human and divine qualities, Ravan's polyvalent personality harbors a range of polarities. He is a being of near infallible strength, multifaceted intellect, talent, and grandeur, one who is capable of extreme austerities and devotion, but is a victim of his unbridled greed, lust, and arrogance. This enigmatic blend of the demonic and heroic in Ravana's character has inspired a range of artistic and literary expressions. How did Chalukyan artists visualize Ravan? What were the themes selected and how were these rendered? Where on the monument were they placed? What could have been the nature of textual, oral, or performance traditions that guided them? And how far do these artistic expressions indicate the nature of political imagination? On an early 7th century Vaishnav temple in Badami today, known as Upper Shivalaya, Ramayana themes run along the Adhishthana recess of the main temple's southern wall and the mandapa's western end. Ravana's presence there relates to the Aranyakand following the mutilation of his sister Shurpanakha. A close look at the sculptures reveals that the visualization has already digressed from Valmiki's Ramayana and is closer in its details actually to the 6th, 7th century Bhatti Kavya or Ravanavadha. Now I am not proposing that Ravanavadha by Bhatti is the text for the Badami Chalukyas. All I am saying is that it is closer in certain details than the Valmiki Ramayana for these sculptures. In the Upper Shivalaya sculptures, for example, Shurpanakha first appears as an attractive woman and reverts to her demonic form only after the act of mutilation, which is a movement away already from Valmiki. So this is Shurpanakha, and then after the mutilation. They have depicted her differently in the two instances. It is at this point that we encounter Ravan in majesty, as I call him, amid his courtiers, to whom a lamenting and furious Shurpanakha appeals. The setting is stage-like, as though drawn from the performance repertoire and frozen in stone. This is the earliest available portrayal of Ravana's court in Indian art. The demon king wields weapons in all but two of his mighty hands. His multiple crowns face outwards, encircling a central axis. This scene signifies a critical moment in the epic, one that cascaded into a sequence of events leading to the epic battle. We next see Ravan proceeding to the Dandaka forest in his Pushpak Viman. In two cameos, sorry, I think I missed a slide. In In two cameos sculpted in continuous narrative mode, we first see Ravan seated in the Pushpak chariot and next Ravan meeting Marich. Ravan's legs in our lead stance convey the sentiment of Raudra and in the urgency of the moment as per Natya conventions. Incidentally, the Natya Shastra is referred to in the Chalukyan inscriptions also. The change in locale to the tranquil Dandaka forest is realized by the presence of flowering trees. Sharing the forest backdrop and of a piece with the same slab of stone is a rare portrayal of Ravan in consultation with Marich, who has since taken to the life of an ascetic. Ravan is visible in the foreground, holding his sword across his chest, and Marich is advising him against Sita's abduction. Following abduction, in sculpting the Ravan-Jatayu duel, the artist renders two moments. First, Jatayu's fleeting moment of triumph when he succeeded in wounding Ravan, and next, Ravan brandishing his sword at Jatayu. The visualization at the upper Shivalaya is discontinuous beyond this, although a few scenes leading up to the final epic battle may be identified, the most beautiful among them being Awakening Kumbhakaran. Coming to the Durg temple at Aihole, Ramayana scenes are carved on the basal recess of the Mukha Chatushki within the curved ambulatory. To the north are episodes from the Aranyakanda, which I am not showing here because my focus is Ravan. And on the southern face, you have scenes from the Sundarkand dominated here by Ravan. The artist offers visions of the demon king's palace and Hanuman's exploits and encounters within Ravan's luxurious palace interiors. Ravan's iconography is indeed striking. His towering presence often compared in texts with Kailash and Meru, occupies the entire height of the narrative panel, which otherwise is divided into two registers. He is seated amid a bevy of beautiful and eager damsels vying for his affections. His many hands caress them, even as he admires their beauty with his many eyes. Fragrance, luxury, and sensuous pleasures are also symbolized by the flower that he holds in his hand and the baskets perhaps carrying goods of luxury, one carried by a damsel standing near him and one placed next to him. The artist does not forget to contrast this revelry with Ravan's austerities. A yoga patta is tied around his knees and a yagnopavit graces his chest, reminding one of his half-Brahmin lineage and the severe penances he had performed to gain power through divine boons. To Ravan's left is carved Hanuman's stealthy entry into the guarded palace interiors and scenes of revelry that he witnesses. Hanuman crosses the ramparts of the city and is obstructed by demoness Lanka Devi. The houses he spied on, the revelry of the residents he saw in search of Sita are all visible. Hanuman's form appears several times. I have marked it with an H there. And the narration again is in continuous mode. To Ravan's left is also shown the capture of Hanuman by Indrajit. To the right, scenes of revelry continue. Loving couples of Lanka make visible poetic renditions of the theme. The Sundarkand narratives carved at Aihole also reverberate in the textual Ramayanas. Valmiki's poem luxuriates on the grandeur and beauty of Lanka with its mansions, gardens, Ravan's glory and revelry, beautiful women, intoxicated lovers. Hanuman witnesses Ravan sleeping on his bed with several women resting at his feet and sees the beautiful Mandodari sleeping apart from all others on her bed. This is Valmiki. Bhatti's Hanuman witnesses similar scenes upon his entry into Lanka in the interior of the mansions and especially inside Ravan's palace, where he finds women of incomparable beauty eager to partake of sensual pleasures with Ravan. Bhatti visualizes Ravan's lordship, luster and lust for women and compares him to Kailas. As Ravan retires to his chamber with a lover, Hanuman leaves the palace to continue his search for Sita. This is Bhatti. Poetic and artistic freedom render the search for a direct correspondence of the visuals with a single text very difficult. Yet, in the Bhatti Kavya, I must say that the Bhatti Kavya seems to offer closer parallels to the Aihole portrayal than does Valmiki's Ramayana. Coming to the last set of temples, at Pattadakal, the Ram Ravan story is met on the mid-8th century Virupaksha, Mallikarjuna and Papanatha temples. The Ramayana sculptures now shift from recessed bands of the base mouldings to the outer temple walls and pillars in the interior of the temple mantapas, resulting in greater visibility. Virupaksha also offers the very first predominantly placed relief sculpture of Rama, although not as a cult image of a temple's sanctum, but as one sculpted on the exterior of the temple's wall. Now, what is interesting here is that although the narrative of the Mayamrig is there and the narration continues, it is not completely iconic as an icon of Rama would be expected. Sita and Lakshman could of course be present. But the narrative is much reduced and the movement towards creating an iconic image of Ram certainly exists here. Ravan is encountered both as an adversary demon king and as a passionate demon devotee in the epic and Puranic narratives carved at Pattadakal. Sculpted on a pillar of the southern porch of the Virupaksha temple is the Ravan Anugraha Murti. I refrain here from the detailed interpretation it deserves. Indeed, we could have a separate paper on it for want of time. Suffice it to say that the imposing figure of Ravan, a devout and powerful yet obdurate and self-destructive anti-hero with critical failings, looms large and dominates the composition, setting a norm for future sculptural renditions in later Chalukyan and Hoysala territories. A dynamic portrayal of the Ravan-Jatayu duel in the backdrop of the abduction of Sita is also seen. Ravan's stance is especially noteworthy. The dynamism of the moment, so effectively captured by the artist, is yet again reminiscent of Natya and Nritya. I insist on drawing comparisons with the performance repertoire because all these stances exist in the performance, and I'm sort of looking at these sculptures, I'm really sure that there was a performance tradition around the temples and the courts that has been actually frozen in stone. Sita's visage peeps out of the half-open door, but her cottage carved as a single-storied Dravida Viman. Beneath is a cameo of Ravan driving away a helpless Sita in his magical chariot. The pillars in the interior of the Virupaksha temple also harbor Ramayana narratives in horizontal registers. Take, for example, the one depicting scenes from Shurpanakha's infatuation with Ram to the abduction of Sita. As at Badami, Shurpanakha appears before Ram and Lakshman disguised as a beautiful woman and transforms into an ugly and ferocious demoness only after her mutilation. Ram and Lakshman jointly demolish Kharadushana's army, which suggests that perhaps this may have been the case also at the upper Shivalaya, where it is effaced. The Ravan-Jatayu duel is a miniaturized version of the niche panel discussed earlier, and I have taken a detail. This is from the pillar. It's the same stance that Ravan takes. The composition is absolutely similar. Well, you have seen it, so I can leave it. Ravan's chariot, which Jatayu succeeds in damaging and razing to the ground, is here shaped like a Viman, similar again. This could be due to a transition in the visualization of the abduction episode, a theme that Rajarajan, sitting here, has worked in detail on. For in the Kamba Ramayana, as Rajarajan's research has told us, Ravana does not grab Sita, does not dare to touch her, but lifts the ground beneath her cottage and takes her along with the cottage. It is again a digression from Valmiki. A final remark on the inscribed labels that run along the margins demarcating the horizontal registers. These identify in early Kannada the epic characters as they appear in the sculpture. Kharadushanan, Supannagi, Lakhana, Ravanan, Ponmari, and so on. Please pardon my Kannada pronunciations. It is very likely that devotees and others visiting the temple would also have been witnessing the epics recited and performed in local language. At the Papanatha in Pattadakal, the walls of the temple halls are replete with a sequential exposition of the Ramayana and Mahabharata. At Papanatha, as on the Virupaksha temple pillars, the epic characters have been identified by labels. Ravana is depicted several times, predominantly his arrogant attempt to lift Kailash, Shurpanakha's lamentation to Ravana, Ravan's arrival in disguise at Sita's cottage, Ravan-Jatayu duel, Ravana in the epic battle. Helen Wexler has argued that the organization of these panels on the exterior walls of this temple is a deliberate statement of political legitimation made by its patron king Kirti Varma II in the twilight years of early Chalukyan rule. She points to the leitmotif of the victorious archer as embodied by Ram and Arjun on the walls of the Papanath temple, and to the coronation scenes carved on the front porch as a deliberate metaphor for the king. Certainly, the prominent display of the victory of the epic heroes Ram and Arjun must have been a reassuring metaphor in the twilight years of Chalukyan rule. Wexler, however, misses a very significant inscription in the porch of the Papanatha that would have lent further credence to her argument. The engraved inscription says, Vibhishan will reign as long as he recites the name of Ram. If we read this brief inscription together with the visual metaphors, it does translate into a device that carries a political statement. Coming to a very quick discussion, I won't call it a conclusion. The epic and Puranic cycles carved on the early Chalukyan temples register the emergence of new visual motifs and compositions, even as they reveal continuities with those from the period of Gupta dominance. The interrelationships between epic performance and visual traditions are evident. Ram at this stage in Chalukyan history is not a cult figure worshipped in a temple's sanctum. Even so, the epic's hero Ram does appear to provide an apt metaphor for ideal kingship. The Mahakut pillar inscription of 596 AD compares Mangalesha's qualities to various gods, including Ram, for example. Rama iva aparajitaha. The same inscription also quotes from the Raghuvansh, Yatha vidhi hutagninam, yatha kamarchitarthinam, drawing direct parallels with the lineage of Raghus. So Ram, as a metaphor for ideal kingship, was there, but so were other gods. Indra, Shiva. He was not distinct. For that we have to wait until Vijayanagar, and Professor Setter will take us there. Similar is the case with the reference to Vibhishan and Ram in the Papanatha inscription just discussed. Ravan's portrayal on these monuments suggests that a local performance, oral or textual version, I'm almost through. I've already discussed that the Bhatti Kavya provides some vital links, and I would not insist on the Bhatti Kavya having influenced the Chalukyas, because although they are not very far, we are in southern Gujarat, and this is northern Karnataka, but there could have been other local versions that are closer to the Bhatti Kavya than the Valmiki Ramayana. Interestingly, the Chalukyan sculptures relate very well to Javanese sculptures, and the Bhatti Kavya has had a very dominating influence also on the Kakavin Ramayana, although it has been localized, and Malini Saran's paper yesterday showed us some aspects of its localization. I think I will stop here. Thank you.